Hi friends, it's Deanna Willison from Our Blooming Catholic Life, and I'm coming to you today to talk to you about homeschooling. So yes, I homeschooled my son, his request, from second grade through to 12th. I have tutored one-on-one students. I have tutored children in groups of 2 or 3. I have tutored kids in programs that meet 1 day a week for an hour and a half. I have tutored kids in academies where they spend 2 days a week, typically Monday and Wednesday, in a classroom, small classroom setting, and then 3 days at home working on the work. So what does that look like? What is my experience telling me? So if you are a teacher and you're getting ready to set up a true schooling experience for your students, or if you are like a retired teacher who is a grandparent or an aunt or something, and you want to design classes for your grandchildren or nieces or nephews, what are methods that work for this video kind of component? So let's stop and talk for a minute. Why do I think I know when I've just tutored homeschooling students? Okay, I did forget to mention I also have a master's in education. The program I was in was supposed to be online education, and the program got discontinued, of course, when I was 2 classes short of graduating. And what were those 2 classes? They were the law class and the history class. So I had all the educational philosophy, all the theory, all the lesson development, all the best practices and the practicums. I had all that. So I'm just missing history and law. Okay, so what worked in our classes and what worked in our practicums? What worked was 2 main things, really. Understanding by design was one of them. What was understanding by design? That is like backwards planning your lesson, and it works really well in this format. So what you do is you come up with your goals ahead of time and you work backwards to develop your lessons. So you got your goals first, and you may have them if you think that your students may be transitioning back into a brick and mortar school later. So whether that's a public school or private school and you're only homeschooling on 1 or 2 years, or you just want to keep your options open, you can actually look at the standards, right, already written out for you by the school that they're following. You should be able to find that at your school's website. It shouldn't be a problem. If it is, give them a call. So get out there and call them. You find out what that standard is, what those little points are. It should be written out in a chart. And then you've developed activities for your particular students. And that's why this method works really well. It speaks to the motivation issue that a lot of people had difficulties with during COVID schooling. So you have a learning objective, like you want to learn the scientific method, and your kids are bored to death of memorizing things, even though that's the first classical stage, right? They're really good at memorizing things. But like, how are you going to teach a scientific method that they're going to want to watch the lesson? You are going to incorporate their interest. Maybe they're interested in butterflies or unicorns. You are going to help them. Oh, sorry guys. Or lizards and spiders, right? Whatever it is, you're going to develop your lesson plan with that interest in mind. So your examples are going to be about butterflies and unicorns, or lizards or whales, whatever it is, or, the stars, or volcanoes, whatever that is, you're going to incorporate their interests in. Now, if you have a small group of students, perhaps you're a grandparent and you've got a total of 6 grandchildren over 2 or 3 families, right? You may have a lot more than that if you're a Catholic homeschooler. But, so you could maybe have the kids vote on it. Decide on what to do together. And you could do it by a vote. You could do it by a drawing. Maybe they're taking turns who gets to pick it. I don't know that that's super motivational. But maybe they only get to pick when it's their turn if they've participated well in the other ones. You can come up with motivational methods. So yeah, incorporate what their interests are. That's going to get them motivated to learn. And that's one of the great strengths of understanding by design. I'm pretty sure I have a video about that on my YouTube channel. It's in a different playlist, but it's either by UBD or Understanding by Design. It may have a picture of me in an otter suit on the thumbnail of the video. So how are you going to develop these lessons? Well, if you're a grandparent teaching in person, awesome, you can do it, but you can do it long distance, right? So either way, I honestly am going to recommend probably the same thing. And it's going to be PowerPoint or Keynote, depending on what you have. If you have PCs and Android phones, you're probably going to be using PowerPoint, right? And if you have an iPhone, you're going to be using Keynote. They're a slideshow program. So you're going to make slideshows, and slideshows work well in this format because you're going to have bulleted points, little bits of information on the screen, but you can actually you can make your videos two-way. You're going to make videos off these PowerPoints. You can either add sound to each slide, or you can make a video and do a voiceover. Of course, there are different technicalities, and you're going to need to learn this, but you've got a couple weeks. You can do this. So you're going to have your slide. You can have sound or not. It's going to help kids learn to recognize the words that are on the slide. So for little kids, you would just want to read exactly what's on the slide so that they can help read along. With older kids, you can add more information, and that's going to help them with their note-taking skills. So they're going to see the full range of what you're saying, but looking at those little key points. So you're going to be teaching them note-taking skills. If you have students with disabilities, this can still work because you can attach to each slide a series of notes that they can actually print out and follow along with. So it works, it's very easily adapted for different learning styles because you can also have graphics, and your graphics can move. If you want to spend the time to learn how to do it, it can be very engaging. So you can have graphics, you can have pictures. And on that point, I'm going to ask you to get out there and see some of my copyright videos. Now, they're not mine. I have them on a playlist. I think it says TGIF Science Students, and there's a series of videos about copyright and how to find copyright images, why copyright matters. Now, as an educator, you can use copyrighted things, but just in a more limited fashion, and you have to follow certain criteria. Education is one of the qualifications. But of course, you want to respect other people's creativity and hard work and reward them when possible. So if you can take your own pictures, that's probably going to be even better for the kids. They can be pictures of like you and grandpa, family photos. That's where individualizing it really is great. You can have kids, photos of the very kids you're teaching involved in your PowerPoints, and they're going to love that. Who doesn't love seeing themselves on screen, right? So, and then you have to think about child protection safety. Make sure the kids are fully dressed in all these videos, right? You just don't want anybody coming in and seeing them otherwise. And make sure the background is kosher. I used to have a student that I'd tutor through Skype, and on her end of the video, she'd be in her bedroom and her laundry would be piled up next to her, and a lot of times her underwear was out. Like, that's not cool, kids. Not cool. And the same goes for any teacher making the video. Please make sure your background is safe, right? You may need to just hang a sheet from the ceiling or something. You can buy backgrounds, use the green screen, whatever you need to do. So when you're making your PowerPoints, right, you're going to put 3 to 5 bulleted points on there and probably some kind of graphic. Another reason doing these on PowerPoint is excellent because sometimes when you're making a video and showing it live, like when I'm looking at this now, this print is all backwards. In live videos, things can be backwards. When you're doing the PowerPoint, it's going to flip it around, so it's going to be right. And if you're making it into a video, it's normally flipped around. That's so important when you're trying to show a graphic or diagram, especially in math or science. Also, you don't want to be messing with your kids' heads if you're teaching them English and everything's backwards. That's not good either, right? So you have to know your format. Play around, watch it yourself, make sure things are flipped the right way. I know this sounds overwhelming, but if you get out there and just practice little bits by little bits, you're going to get this down. Have the kids end up in some kind of project. They are probably cooped up in their houses. So if you are studying butterflies, perhaps they can get out there and design a butterfly garden. This is also can incorporate math, right, and the skill of geometry as well as counting. They might need to multiply things, divide things, figure things out. How are they going to lay this out? What's their plot of land? What's the size of it? How much can they dedicate to each thing? Because if they're doing a butterfly garden, they're going to have food for the adults and food for the caterpillars, right? They're not always the same. They're going to have a source of water, and butterflies have very specific water needs. They even need a very fine mist or a tiny muddy kind of puddle. They like gunk because there's minerals in it, right? And then you're going to have to maybe make sure it's safe from predators. You don't want praying mantises getting in there, for instance, but the butterflies still have to be able to fly in. So like, oh my goodness, what do you do? There's a lot of great things in there. And then you could point the kids to a lot of great books. And then your grammar exercises can come from their readings and books. This method is also good with kids for all ages because the little kids will be reading a more simple work and doing simple projects, And as your kids get older, they'll be doing age-appropriate projects. Now, how does that work even? Remember, in your classical stages, your little ones are going to be working on memorizing things and getting out there and getting their hands messy, right? Your middle schoolers are going to start synthesizing things. So they're going to see that those measuring skills they learned in math class really have applications in economics, like in mowing the lawn, like because you have to, even driving a car, because you have to calculate mileage, you're calculating gas efficiency. So they're going to start combining all these multiple concepts together, and your high schoolers are going to argue. So your high schoolers could argue things like, should you just advocate planting butterfly bushes, which can be invasive and don't have food for the juveniles? Now, what are the advantages of planting something? Sorry, there's a little skipper flying around here. If you don't know what a skipper is, check out butterflies and type in skipper. And so you could have all different things. They can have conservation issues. They can say, well, if I have a muddy puddle in my yard, it's attracting butterflies, but it's also attracting mosquitoes, and make arguments. They can have a debate back and forth as to which is more important, avoiding mosquitoes or attracting butterflies. You can incorporate all this in. They can even do the debate for the little ones to watch. It's easy to incorporate multiple ages when you do these methods, and yet they're all learning something. You can incorporate multiple goals in the same lesson. It's possible. So when you do your PowerPoint, your slideshow, whatever, you're making your slides with like 3 to 5 points on them and some kind of graphic. You can also then have a slide that is just a video that they play, which is genius. So you can actually sit there and talk them through, walk through your yard, whatever. It's like taking a little field trip. And in fact, you can insert some virtual field trips in there that will let you do that. And usually you just have to put the website that you got it from at the bottom. Easy peasy, right? And then you're going to end up exporting it however you have to finish your video and send it off to your grandkids, or you can put it up on YouTube. Make your own grandparent teacher channel. Whether you're a grandparent, aunt, or uncle, or like I say, a private tutor, you can put your videos then on YouTube. YouTube is going to let you decide the accessibility of that video. That video can be made public. It can be made public. You can schedule it a certain date, like students can't work ahead, but you may want them to be able to work ahead. There's also private and unlisted videos where you have to send people a link for them to get in and see the video. So that's going to increase your security system, especially if you are using like family photos or photos of kids. That's the one I would recommend, so that you know only your family is getting in to see those. And then you send them out. And one of the beauties why I'm saying maybe not do everything by live video is families had trouble during the original COVID crisis schooling with devices. So if a family only has one device and all 3 kids need to be on it at the same time, how does that work? We have to be accessible, folks. So by having some, switch who's doing live videos on which day and who's doing an asynchronous video what day, right? So the asynchronous ones could be watched, right? Somebody could be watching on a phone, somebody on a tablet, somebody on a laptop. And maybe they're things that you actually download. They could be that grandparents schedule them ahead of time, put them on a flash drive. You have to have a decently hefty flash drive, but you could get a, fairly chunky flash drive and hand the lessons off so that somebody's not using Wi-Fi all the time, right? So you've got to think about that, especially because schools are talking about making everything with web cameras on. So again, you have to think of the safety issues. Nobody wandering in the background, half naked. Some people are caring for elders or young ones, and that could be a valid issue. I'm not just being silly here. So you have to be very conscious of that, as well as sending the video all the time is going to use a lot more bandwidth, and we need to think about that now rather than after the systems crash. So if you can make some lessons and make them available on flash drive, that could be very helpful. So what else besides that? I mean, that is one of my top things I love. Another one is there are tons of YouTube's videos out there. If you want to preview them and make a curriculum based on them, you probably could. I normally do that for snow days. What I'll do is I'll have a concept. I'll pick like 3 short videos, and I'm talking for chemistry, high school chemistry. I'll pick like 3 short videos that introduce the topic. The students are going to have their textbook. Here's the thing. Most homeschooling textbooks are written to be accessible to the student. not the teacher. It's different. The textbook actually teaches where a lot of public school books don't. They reinforce what the teacher is teaching, but they don't really instruct. So a lot of homeschool textbooks are written in a different format that are very accessible to students. And so maybe sometimes they're reading in their book, sometimes they're watching the video. So on these snow days, when I would make just use YouTube videos, I'd have them do their chapter reading. Here's some videos that reinforce the concepts in the chapter, and bam, here's a quiz. And there are some apps that you can get for your phone that are going to randomize that quiz. So people can't be like, oh, the answer number 1 is C, and texting each other. No, you might want to get an app that does that randomizes it. Another app I found, let's see if it's still on here, very useful. Ooh, because I'm going to need it again. I have a student again. This one is called TeachAid. Let me get back out of it. It's this little A+ guy. This little A+, TeachAid. And when I click on it, it's basically an online grade book. So I start out with courses, and then you can go in and enter students. You can have attendance, you can have grades, you assign points, weight things. It is great, and with the end of the year, it's going to print your grade reports for you. That is a huge help. So what else am I going to show you? I talked about the 3 stages of classical learning, just a smidge. So I am going to promote the program that I believe in most for homeschooling, and that is Mother of Divine Grace School. It is an accredited distance education school. It's located out in California. Now, some states recognize it as a private school and some don't. I'm in Maryland, and they have never recognized it as a private school. And so what I had to do in my county, each county is different, I had to go in twice a year and show that my student had made progress. So what we did was we kept his work, we took photos of activities he did, and we made a scrapbook, like a photo scrapbook every year, and those are so much easier now to make. You can do them all digitally. And we just took that in. As he got older, like in high school, we did not do that for high school. For high school, we just took in work samples. We had a folder in, for each subject, and we just picked out some work samples to take in. So I want to show you Mother Divine Grace, and this is a syllabus for natural history, which is done in 10th grade, and you can see I covered the syllabus. I also covered every book we used for that subject in the same paper so that it was super easy to grab off the shelf. Because one of the things with this kind of learning is that you're normally using books, not textbooks, like books you would sit down and read, classical rating books. So this is a historic one. Now, if you enroll with Mother of Divine Grace, you get access to online syllabi. And the younger grades, it's for the whole grade. It's integrated all your subjects into one syllabus. For high school, because kids mix and match, we've got these guys. They're separate by subject. So you can see it's got a lot of things in here. Table of contents, which is kind of funny. Text used in the course, introduction, the science rubrics for these grade levels, then they give the writing rubrics for the high school grade levels. Then because this is a 10th grade class, 10th grade rubrics for science papers, 10th grade learning objectives. Remember we talked about those with our video? They're in these syllabi. Lesson plan for the study of natural history, questions for Fabre's Book of Insects, which is one of the books we read, additional books for the study of natural history project suggestions. Then they give you a sample project, natural history project proposal form, natural history project report form, natural history project conclusion form, guidelines for writing science papers. So in case you've gotten that far and you're still panicking, there is a letter about plagiarism, and this school always makes students at the beginning of the year sign an agreement about plagiarism. And if you're homeschooling for the first time, I do encourage you to talk about plagiarism to all your kids so that they're not texting each other answers and trying to get papers in, because it's some people see that it's easier with homeschooling. So make sure you're explicit about that, and make sure that your student knows that there will be consequences for that. High school student work agreement, that's what I'm talking about. Yes. Then there is a natural history grading chart for first and second semesters. So the required texts for this course are King Solomon's Ring, Fabre's Book of Insects, and Nature Drawing, a Tool for Learning. And why natural history is so important is it helps you to learn how to observe and take good science notes. So can you skip it? Yeah. And your student may still pass biology and chemistry and their higher level sciences, But will they get as much out of them? No. You need this course. It's 10th grade. Do it. If you can do it with younger kids, they do it. Everything in classical education is kind of cyclical, so your kids have been exposed to it, hopefully, before this point. Then they have optional materials, and again, they're books, including like the Reader's Digest North American Wildlife Guide. A lot of their books are available either through their bookstore, where you get a discount if you're an enrolled member, or you can get them from the library. So like the science rubrics actually even tells you level A student, a level B student, a level C student. These things are so helpful. What does a sample day look like? I just kind of wanted to jump ahead. It does give you a style sheet in this book. Shows you how to do a bibliography. And that's in every syllabus. So these are broken down. We kind of fudged it more as a checklist. They normally give you days 1, 2, 3, and 4, and your 5th day can be for field trips or catch up or projects or chores, whatever you need. We just went through. So this one is like day 1. Start a notebook for naming nature. Pick out 3 natural things each week all year long from your reference book. Choose objects that you're likely to be able to find in your known neighborhood. So kids are going to be learning about their environment they're in. This class is also super fun to do over the summer if you go on an extended vacation. Look at trees, flowers, insects, birds, and rocks. In short, anything natural in your environment. So today you're going to pick 3 objects and put them in your notebook with a sketch and notes of pertinent information, and then try and find them outside. I've done a lot of naturalist training myself, and that's also what you're supposed to do. You do your research ahead of time and kind of know things that are going to be in your environment, and you're going to go out and look for them in your environment. You don't really want to take your field journal out with you because it's going to get messed up. You want to develop memorization skills. Like, remember, just you could jot some notes down. Like, how tall is it? Well, it's taller than, like, my little sister. Like, make reference points. And you're going to think, does it look like it's a heavy animal? Does it look like it's a light animal? Is there an animal that's similar to it? And you're going to learn to compare and contrast and make connections. This class is a genius. Now, you're probably wondering, what's the natural history project and what can I do? You can do it with a pet, you can do it with wildlife, you can do it by zoo cams, the live cams at zoos. So it's pretty easy. Let's see, any other questions? Oh, funding. I know, God bless you if you're watching me this long. I did want to talk a little bit about funding. Mother of Divine Grace itself, they charge a family fee, and if you pay in full, you don't have to pay the once a yearly registration fee either. So you pay your enrollment fee by the oldest child's grade. Whatever is the highest grade you have a student in, that's the fee that you pay, and that fee covers your whole family. And then there's add-ons, of course. You can get special services it's like sort of like special education. And of course there's classes that meet online and whatnot, book clubs and things. And so you can pay for add-ons. We didn't do any add-ons. We got the paper syllabi and did them ourselves completely. Now, what we did do, we did have one add-on. We had an extra consultations. So with your enrollment, you get consultations. You get to speak to a live person who reviews your work and how you're grading. There was a couple times I got dinged that I graded too low. My son was not happy with me, but it was all fixed in the end. So you can also pay for extra consultations if you're extra nervous. Do you need to enroll your kid? That's really up to you and depends on your situation. It is cheaper just to buy the syllabi and get books from the library, and that may be doable for your family. You'll have to decide, because also if you buy the books, you're going to pass them down to your kids. Now, a program like Mother of Divine Grace uses very little workbooks, and so you can pass them down from one kid to the next, so you're investing. If you have multiple kids, you can do that. You can also buy used books, and there's a number of websites out there. Even there's a I'm not going to remember the official name, but there's swap groups that you can find online for probably any homeschool program that's out there. Other than that, you can start looking for scholarships. There are some school districts who will give you credit, some that will give you textbooks to work at home. That's few and far between. One program I know that is here in Maryland is that high schoolers are allowed to dual enroll in community colleges, and they actually get a discount on their college classes that way. So that's something that you can look into. Your student could be, if you're a high schooler in Maryland, and maybe other states, can get like 50% off doing classes at the community college, which are probably all virtual now anyway. So that's an option. Otherwise, if you need financial help, just ask the school outright. Go to their websites, and if you don't see it, send them an email and ask about financial aid. Mother of Divine Grace has gone to be an official nonprofit. So if you don't even need that, or you have people that can donate, you could actually do where people could donate to the school so we can make more things available to people. I think they participate in some of those programs where you buy things online and they get money. I think there's that as well. And don't be afraid to ask. If you're trying to homeschool your kids, you've got 2 little ones, you're trying to homeschool them, and it's going to be too much for you, but you work out your prices, perhaps you can ask family members, hey, don't buy them a Christmas gift. Maybe get them something small this year, but can you help us out with our homeschooling? At least ask. Why not? Have yard sales. I don't know if we can have yard sales. Try and find little ways that you can do things. Just let people know that you need help, that you want to homeschool your kids, that you want to do what's right for them and best for your family and for them. And just, reach out to people. You may have a neighbor who's sitting there that has an old laptop just sitting around that they're not using, that they could refurbish, clear their hard drive, whatever it is, and give you to use for this. At least ask. Right? You could always put a sign in your yard like, got a laptop? It's okay. We're a community right now. People are banding together, so feel free to reach out and ask if you need something like that. Thank you for watching to the end. I know probably one person has. I hope you all have. I hope this information has been useful. If you're a veteran, you're a homeschooler, or somebody new, if you have questions, if you have answers, put them in the comments below so other people can benefit from your knowledge. If I get a lot of questions, I'll do another video on, whatever your topic is that you're asking about. If you want to see inside some more of the books, if you want to see samples, let me know. I think that's it. God bless, friends.